We use a for loop when we want to execute the same code over and over on a set of something, such as a set of numbers or a collection of data like an array. So a for loop has a basic structure like this. When I press return, you're going to see what this particular for loop does. So it does the same thing 10 times. And I'm going to discuss the three elements that make the for loop work. So after the keyword for, you have a set of parentheses. And in that set of parentheses, you start with a starting value. So you take any variable name. Now often it's I, but it can be another name. And you say, let that variable have a value of 0 at the start. Now in some other case, you might not want 0, but often you want to start at 0 and count up. Then the second condition is that same variable, when is this loop going to stop? And it's going to stop when the value of that variable is something. So you could say equal to something, but often we say less than something if we're starting with 0. If we're starting with a higher number, we would probably say greater than or equal to. So the third condition inside the parentheses increments that variable's value. So plus plus is a shorthand to say make I equal to the current value of I plus 1. So what these three little characters do, I plus plus, means add 1 every time we loop. So that means the first time we loop, the value is what we told the starting value to be. And then the second time we loop, this has happened. So the second time, this is 1 more, so it's 1. So you see how this is happening in what was console logged by this little for loop. Now let's look at another for loop, very similar structure within the parentheses. But instead of let I equals 0, we said let I equals 5. Instead of stopping at 10, we're going to stop at 30. And instead of plus plus, which means add 1, we're saying plus equals 5, meaning add 5 to I each time the loop runs. So what's this one going to do? Can you guess before I hit return? So it starts with 5, and then 5 is added. So then 10 is logged, and 5 is added again because of this. So then we have 15, 20, 25. We never see 30 because the ending condition is as long as I is less than 30. So the last time that we added 5 here, it became 30. That meant this was no longer true, so the loop stops doing its work as soon as it sees, oh my, now I is not less than 30 anymore. So when it's 30, the loop has stopped, and it never printed 30, it just printed 25. We often use a for loop to loop over an array and do something with each of the items in the array. So here I've made an array named flowers, and it contains several strings, actually 5 strings. Each is the name of a flower. And in our for loop, we have the typical let I equal 0. But to determine when the I condition ends, right, the stop condition, we say when I is less than flower's length. And you'll see how this works so nicely because remember that the indexes of the items are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but the length is 5. So when I is less than the length of the array, it has the value of one of the index numbers, the position numbers of the items in the array. And we're going to do the I++, so 1 is added each time. Then we're simply going to console log a string that says the flower is, and then it gets the flower at that position. So first it's going to get flower 0, then it'll get flowers 1, and so on. It logs a little more text saying the index is, and then giving us the number, which we don't even have to do. We don't have to use the number, but just so you can see it. So I'm going to hit return, and there's our result. So I hope this video has helped you understand some of the various cases when we would normally use a for loop in our code.